My presentation today will be concerned to concept of progress of Asia today. I will try to give some view for that subject from Russia. As we know, Russia is a country that is allocated in the largest territory in the world between Europe and Asia. Moreover, than 75% of Russian territory is located in Asia, but 77% of Russians lives in its European part. It turns out that Europeans regard Russians as Asians, while Asians consider Russians as Europeans. The area of my scientific interest is the philosophy of progress and the Enlightenment, and I'm an expert of the works of French philosopher Nicolas de Condorcet. A little point about that philosopher and why he's important for us now. Starting from the age of enlightenment, a person's ability of self-improvement or perfectibility is usually seen as a fundamental human feature. Perfectibility can be considered at the same time as a conductor, a goal, and instrument of progress of the human mind and mankind. Owing to perfectibility, human beings are not only able to work on themselves by improving their abilities, but also able to change their environment, and both social and natural, and create favorable conditions for their existence. According to Condorcet, the real progress of the human mind has three keystones: a developed system of public free education, progressive law, and constantly improving science, technology, and art. These social institutions together represent an integral balanced system, which with proper integration of parts with each other will lead the human race to absolute good and happiness. Therefore, as a philosopher, I'm concerned with the question, is Condorcet forgotten now, or his ideas are alive? Do modern societies and states use the ideas of Condorcet? In this context, I'm interested in philosophy of progress in France, Russia, and Asia. So how can we meditate the philosophical, innovative, and progressive parts of these countries? World progress is gradually moving from one country to another in space and time, capturing and accumulating the achievements for one civilization and stimulating the development for the next one. And this is exactly what Condorcet thought when in his sketch, he spoke about the progressive movement of mankind from one historical era to another one, and about the accumulation of knowledge at the same time. Of course, now we will talk about the larger steps in progress and why it's important for us now. Of course, if we are talking about enlightenment, in the 18th and 19th century, France was the most innovative country. Encyclopedia, French Revolution, Declaration of Human Rights, world exhibitions, and others. Then Russia kept the torch. The Russian citizens of Diaghilev, art of Malevich, Chagall, films of Sergei Eisenstein, and others. But not only art. At the same time, Russian Cosmism, a philosophy of progress, innovation, and belief in unlimited human possibilities, was born. The next step was the technological progress of the Soviet Union, the first flight of Yuri Gagarin into space as a result of faith in the improvement and limitless possibilities of human. At the same time, scientific and technological progress was rapidly developing in America. We could say that it was also a consequence of the influence of the French Enlightenment with its ideas of natural human rights and freedoms. And this development in America continues till now. Then the center of progress shifted towards Asia. The first step of progress in Asia was the Japanese economic miracle. Japan surpassed the USSR, European countries, and since 1968, it was listed as the second economy in the world. Only in 2010, Japan gave the status to China. Then China became the main engine progress in that region, and that's why we are very interested in the vision of progress in China particularly. Initially, China was a country inspired by the ideas of Marxism and borrowed the economic model of development from USSR. But gradually, this model in China was changed, integrated into the world economy, and led the country to prosperity. In contrast to the USSR, where an rigid, ineffective economy became one of the reasons for the destruction of Soviet Russia. The Chinese meritocracy as a way of society progression embodies Condorcet's idea of equality of chances for getting an education and competition within government structures. So we have a question. Perhaps China now is closer to a realization of Condorcet's doctrine of progress than any other country. Moreover, Condorcet was one of the first French socialists whose works inspired Henri de Saint-Simon and in turn Karl Marx. Now we are all spectators of the process when two-century era of Western domination is coming to its end. Some of the biggest events of the last 30 years have been the exceptionally rapid growth in consumption in Asia and their integration into the global flows of trades, capital, talents, and innovations. In the next decade, Asian economies will move from simply participating in these flows to define their content and development directions in many areas, from the internet to trade and luxury goods. The question is no longer how quickly Asia will develop, but how it will lead the rest of the world. Many thinkers believe that this century will be held under the flag of Asia. Some of them call it Asian century. And now China has already become the second economy in the world and may become the first in the first half of the 21st century. However, China has to overcome many obstacles in its way, including technological, social, economic, environmental problems within the country, and as well as difficulties in establishing itself as the largest world power in the system of international economic relationship. How do we see the progress in China and entire Asian region from Russia? There are several scenarios for the long-term development. Some of them positive, some of them are negative. The first scenario is negative. It's an ecological catastrophe. First of all, there are two reasons for it. First of all, it's a very large population size, even after 3 decades of successful demographic policy. And the second reason is a resource-intensive nature of economic growth. They are associated with excessive pressure on the environment in rural areas due to overpopulation, while the rest are associated with modern industrial production. In general, air and water pollution determine the immediacy of the environmental problem. However, the Chinese authorities have made the environment as a national priority, and we hope that they will take care about it. The second scenario is rapid aging of the population. One of the most important factors in the success of Chinese reforms was the demographic policy aimed to reducing the birth rate of the country. Its undoubted success has another side, the aging of the population, which means an increase in the proportion of the elderly in the population of the country. Population aging can significantly affect technological progress. Representatives of young categories are more likely to be the first to start using new technologies, new products, shortening the path from the starting of innovations to their universal application. Population aging can also change not only the pace, but direction of technological progress. In particular, it will stimulate the development of new technologies in medicine and care services. And the third scenario is more positive, stable and dynamic development, as well as return towards civilizational domination through a qualitative internal metamorphosis. This is the most likely strategic goal or scenario for the development of Chinese civilization in 21st century. What do we think about qualitative internal metamorphosis? It is the actualization of Condorcet's idea that internal development is a critical factor in the evolution of mankind. By internal development, Condorcet understood the improvement of the quality of education, medical services, development of social policy, technological and scientific progress, which are based on the desire of mankind to perfect its own abilities and create a favorable environment for life. That's what's happening right now in China. And we can see it. Innovations start with the idea that anything is possible, and it allows people to believe that the world can be changed. We saw this with Condorcet, with Tsiolkovsky, with Musk, and now we are seeing it in China on a national basis. The question remains, will China really be able to realize the doctrine of Condorcet and build an effective and happy future? I think we could see it very soon because the future starts and begins now.